Hi, everybody. So we are having a technology crisis where Elle Marr is having a terrible storm where she is, and she's currently trying to find Wi-Fi or find a hotspot on her phone. Okay, she's here. I'm going to bring her into the stream. Elle Marr, you found a hotspot with your phone. Welcome to the conversation. We are live. All right, everybody. Elle
Yes.
she is gonna, she is gonna huddle under a table while the thunder and lightning crack overhead and give us the scoop about her brand new book out in just a few weeks. But she's hopping on now because she's also expecting a baby, so she's got to talk now. Elle, tell us about Strangers We Know.
Yes, thank you for that introduction. I'm so excited to be back here. Strangers We Know, I am so excited for this book. I cannot believe I'm having a third book baby on top of another human baby. But yes, it's coming out in just a few weeks, May 1st. Paperback and audiobook will be available then. Strangers We Know was also selected for the Amazon First Reads program, so you can actually get the ebook right now if you so desire. I am thrilled with early reviews. This book is a combination of love for true crime and revelations fueled by DNA testing, as well as my personal experiences as the child of an adoptee and the questions of identity and cultural identity that kind of are imbued in the adoption environment. So Strangers We Know follows my main character, Ivy Hahn, as she was adopted as a baby and then as an adult takes a genetics test to learn more about an undiagnosed illness that has baffled her doctors. But the results attract the FBI, who share that Ivy is related to the full moon killer, a predator who has terrorized the Pacific Northwest for decades. Armed with that knowledge, an online search Ivy connects Ivy with her younger cousin. So she flies to Rock Island, Washington to meet the woman in person. And also, while motivated by a secret desire to learn more about her murderous relative, it's there that Ivy learns of her mother's tragic fate, her father's disappearance. And as she ventures further into a serial killer's home territory, she realizes she may be the next victim of poisonous blood ties.
Wow.
So I'll pause there.
Elle, you give us a lot to chat about, and I can't wait to get into every delicious detail. First, I just want to welcome everybody. We are streaming live to 6 destinations across Facebook and YouTube. So no matter where you're watching from, you're in the right places at the right time. You've been here before. You know the drill. And if you're new, here's the drill. You get to ask this author anything you want. Ask her about these DNA tests. Ask her about the whole adoption angle. We've got a lot to talk about. And her writing process. How does she do it? Book number 3, baby number 2. She's a busy lady. So let's get right into it. Courtney, welcome to the conversation. She said, hello, lovelies. I am so excited to hear about this book. Anissa Joy Armstrong, hello, Sara and Elle. I am here for it. Anissa, you're in the right place. Always a pleasure to have you here, ma'am. So Elle, let's pause. I just want to dive right in because I did 23andMe. So first up, how many people who are watching, how many people have swabbed that cheek or in the vial, which was kind of gross, but whatever, mailed it in and learned a little bit more about who they are? Were you surprised? Were you not surprised? I confess I was hoping for a surprise. I didn't get any surprises. I was exactly the Italian lady that I thought I was. So Ivy Hahn adopted into this family. She wants to know more about her birth family. And then an FBI agent comes knocking, something I had never even thought of. What made you think of that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's, first of all, the idea of genetics testing is such a ubiquitous idea these days, right? Like so many people, just as you implied, so many people have done that test these days, and I myself am among them. And so I was first initially inspired by the case of the Golden State Killer. The Golden State Killer his old stomping grounds are Sacramento, California, where I am actually from. So I grew up with the specter of this predator kind of looming in the background as a kid. And he was then known as the East Area Rapist. So he's had this prolific horrible history in the area and all throughout California before he was named the Golden State Killer. And as an adult, when I realized he still hadn't been caught, it had been something like 40 years, I was shocked, frankly, that there could be so many crime scenes and he still hadn't been arrested and identified. So in 2018, when he was arrested and identified, in part thanks to DNA testing submitted by a distant relative of his, I thought, I need to write a book inspired by this and inspired by my own personal experience as the child of an adoptee immediately. I didn't get to it until much later, but it was born from there.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So I loved the whole book about the Golden State Killer, the documentary as well. I watched it and was also fascinated that 40 years later, this guy is thinking he got away with it. He's having tea parties with his granddaughter in the backyard, which was very weird. And then random cousin swabs their cheek, and next thing you know, this guy's arrested. But all I did was get another bowl of popcorn. But you, Elle Marr, you took to your computer and started writing, which, I mean, as soon as I started reading Strangers We Know, I was like, oh my God, what a brilliant idea, because Ivy checked the privacy release option, which I did too, so I could get more genetic information. But it never occurred to me that law enforcement could show up. They haven't yet, knock on wood. But they could. Right. This is crazy. Okay. Let's dive right into the questions. Oh, Anissa saying, hello, Sara and Elle, I'm here for it. She would like to know, do your characters lead you or do you lead them? And then a follow-up question, is it different at different points in your writing process? She says, not program fees, dang, autocorrect, writing process. Yeah, give us the skinny, Elle.
That's a great question. Anissa, hi, Anissa. I definitely try to lead my characters, but they are very unruly. They lead me down all kinds of different alleyways. So I will say I have a plan, and then oftentimes my characters take me somewhere else, totally unanticipated. So it's a collaborative process, I'll say. It's definitely, I have an outline when I begin, and then I also love the discovery of writing. So it's kind of a joy to go off-roading, if you will.
And does that process change for you throughout, Elle, or is it always the same throughout the process? Or is it, or no?
It's kind of an organized chaos. So that's consistent. I would say that I try to stick to my outline, and my editor will tell you that I don't all the time. But it's in those pockets of creativity and discovery that I think I find really fun aspects. There are certain parts of this story of Strangers We Know that were not outlined initially that became a part of the story as I got to know my characters more. So I'm always grateful for, the little rebellious character that caused me to question my original ideas.
Ooh. And can you give us an example of one of those rebellious characters?
I am the worst at Freudian slips, so I'm not going to give any spoilers, but I will say Ivy, my main character, surprised me a great deal. I thought she was a different person when I first started writing her, and then I learned much more about her resilience and her fears. I learned much more about her fears in meeting her biological family, which I felt. My mother is adopted, and I had always been very curious about where we came from, or our medical history, our biological history. And then when I finally connected with them, it was such a joy. But it was also, there was a lot of questions and some anxiety around that as well.
Did that come up for you, especially once you started planning your family and you were ready to be a mom, or is it always something you had sort of wondered about?
I have always wondered about it. And I have that, I think, in the acknowledgments of Strangers We Know. I was probably 9 years old when I first understood what adoption meant. And so I asked my mother, have you ever found these people? Like, what do we know about them? And at the time, she had never dug deeper. And so a burning curiosity was definitely born in me at that point. I was probably 9. And so throughout my childhood and into adulthood, I had always wanted more information. And through the genetics testing that I did, I was able to connect with some of them, of my biological family.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. Courtney would like to know, what was your favorite character to write and why? Great question, Courtney.
Oh, again, no slip. I really enjoyed writing Tatum. I have three main characters,
Okay.
Ivy, Tatum, and Samson. And I
Mhm.
really enjoyed writing Tatum and Samson because they are both out of the box thinkers, and they are characters that I hadn't spent much time with characters similar to them in the past or in their mindsets in the past. Tatum is
Mm.
a young teenager, and
Mhm.
Samson is a very brash, machismo oriented male. And so they were both different for me, which was
Very
fun to
different from
explore.
you. Okay, okay, great. So that question is coming from Courtney, and she's a bookstagrammer extraordinaire. She is at Caffeine and Repeat. So check her out, everybody. She writes really funny, really upbeat, really energetic reviews. There's so much fun. People love them. So check that out. Courtney, thank you for the great questions. So Elle, has your process, okay, first let's talk about it. So how long did it take you to write this book? And what portion was spent? Well, let's start there. How long did it take you to write this book? Start to finish, soup to nuts, A to Z.
Start to finish, I think this book took um, writing it. Writing it, I think, took 4 months, and then editing it took another 2 months. So total, actually, yeah, it was 6 months in total.
That's so fast. Okay, now you said a minute ago that when you were answering someone else's question, you said that you outline, but then your editor can attest that you don't always stick to the outline. So does that result in some tough conversations? Is she trying to reel you in, or is she like, "Go, Elle, go, follow the flow"? What's that like?
I love that. That is not the case.
Okay.
We, that's yeah, that's the whole nature of writing on deadline and under contract. I'm sure, as anyone under contract will tell you, um, there's definitely, I have such a great editor and such a supportive writing team or publishing team, but I think I hope that she would say this. I'm very quick to recognize when something is not working, and so to be open to brainstorming the correct path, the one that makes the most sense for the story, or to reevaluate where I got that idea from in the very beginning.
Mm.
So it's definitely I'm grateful for someone to tell
Mm.
me when something is working and when it isn't.
And you are receptive to that. It's never like, no, this is working, you fool. If only you could see the truth. And you're like, no, you're right. I get it, resonates right away.
Yeah, in a professional setting, yes, I'm 100% like, okay, I'll explore that. If it's my husband telling me, it's a little more of the first reaction.
Yes, yes. I have the same situation over here. Thank you for validating that. I hope my husband is watching right now and hearing this. Well, Publishers Weekly is loving it. They rave. The increasingly tense plot takes turns the reader won't see coming. Marr is a writer to watch. First of all, congratulations. Second of all, let's talk about that increasingly tense plot, because as you're reading it feels like there's someone tightening a winch, just cranking it tighter and tighter. So when you were ratcheting up this increasingly tense plot that Publishers Weekly is loving, did you know when and where to tighten it up, or did you have to go back and be like, it's not quite ratcheting up enough?
I went back and ratcheted it up again several times for the end, and I think that's the beauty of editing. I'm a rare bird, I think, among authors, and that I really enjoy editing. And I think it can be difficult. It is definitely like pulling teeth, I think a lot of people will say, but I enjoy finding what I think is the best ending and the tightest way to resolve or reach that climactic point. So I definitely wrote a different final fourth of the book, and then went back and revised it and added in a few other things, a few other elements that I thought ratcheted up that tension that Publishers Weekly mentioned.
Well, clearly, whatever you did is working because PW is not the only one raving. Georgina Cross, bestselling author of The Stepdaughter, raves. Elle Marr is an author to know. Just when you think you understand the motives behind her characters and the way their storylines are being presented, bam, Elle will hit you with twists that you will not see coming, told from multiple points of view. Strangers We Know is about more than Ivy learning of her past and shockingly the serial killer within her family. It's also about knowing who to trust and how to discern who's telling the complete story. Because if everyone has secrets, are they truly family or only strangers? Read The Strangers That We Know to find out. Rave review there from Georgina Cross. So I think what was really fascinating to me, again, having just done the DNA test myself, it never entered my mind that I could be related to a serial killer or a Golden State Killer or any killers of any sort. And it's like, oh wow, if you're going to do the DNA test, you really kind of have to be like, I should have thought that through. Thank God I'm not, but it could have been. And how would that change how a person feels about themselves and their identity? And I don't know, there was just a lot of interesting things here about identity beyond the most obvious example of identity, which is what drove Ivy to first take the test. So I thought that was really fascinating.
Yeah, I think that's really well put. And I was so grateful for Georgina's blurb. She's such an incredible author, and her books are so suspenseful as well. Not only The Stepdaughter, but also her recent book, Nanny Needed. I loved that book. I think there's been so much that's come out of the recent, the wave of genetics testing and like these secrets that people thought were buried, long since buried. And then they've been churned up for better, for worse, as a result of these tests and discovering that you have these very distant relatives, or maybe not as distant as you thought relatives. It's been really interesting to follow, and also to see how, I'll just briefly touch on this, how the law has kind of tried to catch up, and crime scene investigations, going back to the Golden State Killers investigation, and privacy laws, and trying to
Oh no, we've lost Al again. She is tuning in from a place where there is a major, major storm, and her Wi-Fi was taken out by part of the storm right before she logged on. So she's currently attaching her phone. Okay, she's back. Yay, Elle, you're back. So you're talking about how the law is finally catching up with this DNA.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly, with genetic testing.
Yeah. Fabulous. Melissa Watson saying good day, Sara and Elle from Australia. Melissa, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. It must be, yes, quite early in the morning there. I hope you're having a good Tuesday over there. A.H. Kim also tuning in. I'm just going to pop this one briefly because it's long, but she is raving about the book as well. And I was thrilled to have Anne on the show when her book, The Good Family, came out in 2020. So fabulous to see her receiving this book with such appreciation as well. So congratulations on that. Also, Heather Chavez loved it as well, raving dark family secrets, serial murder, and a cult. Yes, please. Twisty and a little twisted. The highly addictive, surprise-packed Strangers Will Know will have you pulling an all-nighter. That is from Heather Chavez, author of No Bad Deed. Congratulations on that as well. So let's talk about Twisty and a little twisted, because Elle, you seem so nice, but reading your book, you are a little twisted. Let's talk about that. How do you manage the twisty and the twisted? You pretzel, you.
Yes, thank you. I first of all loved that blurb. I was so grateful to Heather Chavez for saying that. It is exactly what I strive to write, twisty and a little twisted, because I think that's the content that keeps us reading and turning the pages. And I think, as evidenced by the explosion of true crime podcasts and true crime content, both in movies and streaming these days, we all rubberneck a little bit. So I'm comforted in that I'm not alone. And also, I think it's the reason why we do that. The reason why we're so taken by these headlines ripped from, reality is we want to understand that. We want to understand what happened or what was going through that person's mind, and learn more about those situations. So I try to create plot lines that are intriguing, that are page turning, and I'm hopeful that I've done that again with Strangers We Know.
Yeah. And I think I'm a true crime junkie and a podcast junkie and a documentary junkie and a Hulu and a Netflix series junkie. I think so many of us are here. Excuse me. But I honestly can say I never gave a thought about what the family of the serial killer was like until this book, which was a really interesting take.
Yeah, thank you. I definitely, one of the themes that I was aiming for in this book is, of course, family, the discussion of family in its various forms. I think I do that in all my books. And then also nature versus nurture. In the first chapter, Ivy discusses that question of what is really, at hand, which is wrestling in my life, which has the upper hand. And I think in regards to families that are formed by adoption, or families that reconnect later in life post-adoption, it is interesting, or at least it was from my personal experience, to see aspects of myself that were clearly shared biologically, and then also that were formed by where I grew up, by my friends, by my interests, that had nothing to do with the genealogy that I shared with other people.
Definitely so much food for thought here. Luann Rice, author most recently of The Shadow Box, also giving you a rave blurb here. I'm going to pop it up just for a second because it's also very long, but she's saying from the very first page, I was gripped by Stranger We Know, and I read through the night till the end. The novel is thrilling beyond belief, with suspense and twists ratcheting up on each page. I'm putting the whole thing in the comments so that we can all read along. Luann Rice is a renowned writer. So what an amazing moment it must have been to have her kept up all night by your book, Elle. Did you scream a little when you got that one?
I did. I'll be perfectly honest. I did. I think that's a blurb that I will cherish with me throughout my life, and certainly through my writing career. I was ecstatic that she enjoyed it, and then overjoyed that she said in such a way.
Yeah, Luann is a legend. She came on the show the day before The Shadow Box came out, and she I just was so in awe of her grace and her humility, but also her insight and her brilliance. I mean, what an incredible genre leader. I love her. I love her. Elle, there you have your last book received a starred Kirkus review. So with every bit of praise, do you feel is the praise motivating, or is it a little intimidating when you go to write the next book? You're like, oh crap, Luann Rice kept Luann Rice up all night with this one. Now I've got to keep her up again. Or do you just say, I don't care, I'm just going to write the story I want to write? What's that like for you inside your head?
I'm actually writing the next book now, Sarah, so thank you for planting that seed.
Yeah. Elle Marr will now be keeping herself up all night, worrying about whether Luann Rice will be kept up all night.
Exactly. No, in all sincerity, I am so thrilled that she had such kind things to say about it. I'm able to compartmentalize that and say she loved this book. I sincerely hope she likes the next one. I sincerely hope readers across the board like the next one, as well as Strangers We Know. But so much is unpromised, and as writers, we can only focus on what we can control, which is the text, right? So I'm able to hunker down and just zero in on this task at hand, and let future Elle worry about the reception of it.
Future Elle. I feel like that could be your next TikTok. It could be future Elle and present Elle. So for those who aren't following Elle's every move on TikTok, first of all, get over there and follow Elle's every move on TikTok. But she does a lot of fun book talks, a lot of fun TikToks, where sometimes she'll impersonate the characters in her books, or she'll do voiceovers from famous people, sometimes the Kardashians, whoever. It's really fun. It's really funny. So check it out. So I feel like future Elle and present Elle could be something fun for you to do, Elle. Everybody, pre-order the book tonight. Here it is. And the good folks at Murder by the Book will pop your copy in the mail the day that the book drops, and then you can get your hooks into this one. You can be kept up all night like Luann Rice, and then you'll want to hop over to the Mystery and Thriller Maven Facebook group, where we can continue the conversation, and you can weigh in with all thoughts about DNA, serial killers, true crime, murderinos. You got it going. All right, we have 4 minutes left. So any final questions for Elle? I think we can probably fit in 2 to 3 more. So get them going in the comments. And actually, for those of you who aren't members of Mystery and Thriller Mavens, I let people submit comments in advance. If you can't join us live, you catch the replay. So Kimberly would like to know, Elle, what is your best advice for aspiring writers?
Oh, I mean, this is such a great question, and I feel like it changes every time I'm asked it. But I would say, really write what you're excited about, because you're going to see the same text over and over and over again as you revise, and write something that intrigues you, because if it does intrigue you, it will intrigue countless other readers as well.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Melissa is saying genetic DNA is so fascinating. Melissa, I totally agree. Let us know if you've taken the test, if you've taken the 23andMe or whatever version they have over there, and were you surprised by anything? Leslie joining us from Canada with her signature Canadian hello. Leslie, welcome to the conversation. So good to have you. Anissa Joy saying, thank you, ladies. This was so awesome. Anissa is a bookstagrammer extraordinaire. And does a lot with friends in fiction. So great to have you here. She's saying she loves getting words on the paper. You can't edit a blank page. Absolutely. And he said, but sometimes it's hard to get those words down. I feel like there's the people who struggle to get it down and then edit like the wind, and the people who get it right down but then struggle to edit. Or maybe there's the rare birds out there who just flow effortlessly, but I'm not that person. I don't know if you are.
I'm not.
Elle, can you tell us what you're working on next?
Yes, I actually am working on my next thriller. It's my 4th book. I'm very excited about it. It's actually titled The Family Bones. This is the first time that I've publicly shared that, so you heard it here first. It is, the best way I can describe it is a locked room mystery set in rural Eastern Oregon in the mountains, when a family retreat among psychopaths goes horribly wrong. And it should come out in spring 2023.
Ooh, spring 2023. The Family Bones. Okay. It's coming out in spring 2023. I'm going to put that right here. Elle Marr, thank you for giving us the inside scoop. You know that I love the inside scoop. I love to hear those secrets first. So thank you, everybody. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that news. Breaking news, The Family Bones coming spring 2023, and a retreat for, how did you come up with that idea?
Well, I think you mentioned earlier, we were talking about family and like how we don't think about the criminal's family and how it affects the criminal's family. We're mostly focused on how a criminal could commit such atrocious crimes. And then, of course, rightfully concerned about victims. But I was curious to explore more about what environments these criminals might come from, in particular psychopaths, which are totally poorly understood subset of society. And so I started thinking, what would happen if there were multiple psychopaths in one family? And what would happen if they were on a family retreat, which has been very fun to explore.
Ooh, that is fun to explore and also crazy. Yes. So we had, oh my gosh, I'm totally blanking now, but I had an actual psychopath expert in real life come on the show and talk to us about psychopaths. So I did not know up to 3% of the US population is actually psychopaths, but 85% of the incarcerated population are psychopaths. So it's really interesting to see that that dynamic of those statistics and how they sort of play out, because they're really smart, charismatic, interesting, magnetic, fun, kind of fabulous people, but they don't have mirror neurons to experience any empathy. What was your research process like into that?
Yeah, that is so fascinating. And I love that you have those statistics right at the top of your head, because it's exactly what I found, and exactly why I was so fascinated with the idea to begin with. I read The Killer Across the Table by John E. Douglas, who basically pioneered the profiling system of the FBI. Fascinating read for anyone that's looking for that. And really dug into the psychology behind antisocial personality disorder, which is, the broader term for, or the broader umbrella above such diagnoses as psychopathy, as sociopathy, as narcissism, among others. And it was really, I've always been interested in psychology, and it was a real treat, honestly, to learn more and understand more about these misunderstood groups of people that are not all resembling knife-wielding murderers in our movies. They are, to your point, magnetic, charismatic. They resemble Ted Bundy in the courtroom before we knew who Ted Bundy was. I also read the book by Anne Rule. Oh, I'm blanking. I'm so sorry. The Stranger I Know, about Ted Bundy, and just was really impressed by how much I didn't know about psychopaths, of course. So it was really fun to research.
Oh, I don't know that one. I just remembered. So I had Dr. Vera Curian on. So she studies psychopaths in real life. Dr. Vera Curian, she has her PhD in psychology, but she wrote a thriller about psychopaths. Never Saw Me Coming. She came on the night before for a special pre-launch event in September before Never Saw Me Coming came out, and gave us the inside scoop about psychopaths and her psychopath thriller, which involved a bunch of 18-year-old freshman psychopaths going to George Washington University to be in a study about psychopaths, so we can start to understand psychopathy. But of course, things go horribly awry in the most fabulous way possible.
As they do.
It is fascinating to see how the brain works and to see how this plays out. So I can't wait to have you back on the show, spring 2023. We now have a date, everybody. So mark your calendars for The Family Bones coming in spring 2023. And meanwhile, pre-order Strangers We Know tonight. I'm going to pop the link in the comments one more time, everybody. So grab your copy right now. And Elle will come back next spring for book for number 4 with baby number 2 and give us the inside scoop on that one.
Exactly.
All right, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Here's the link one more time. Grab it. Elle, thank you so much for braving the thunder, the lightning, the monsoon, whatever's going on over there, finding a Wi-Fi, finding a hotspot, and getting back online to chat with us and giving us the inside scoop. It's a pleasure to talk with you as always, and we can't wait to have you back again.
It was such a thrill to speak with you again, Sarah. Thank you so much, and thank you, Murder by the Book. Great talking to you, everyone.
Yay! All right, everybody, have a great night. I will see you next Monday for #Mystery Monday, because Mondays can be murder.